All right, guys, welcome to another live stream. Welcome. I'm just making sure all the settings are correct. Looks like microphone is check, camera is check. Somebody was saying that the microphone is clipping. I'm not sure what clipping means, if it's going in and out, but I always watch the live streams after I shoot them, and I haven't seen anything with the mic. So there's one person that's saying this. I'm not sure if everybody's experiencing the microphone clipping or being too loud. I lowered the mic, so yeah. But let me know if that's the case. I'm only hearing it from one person, so I'm not sure if this is actually the case. But okay, so in today's live stream, we're going to talk about retirement. So I was looking at an article, and the BlackRock CEO was talking about retirement, and he mentioned that in the title of the article, and I'll pull it up, but I don't want to go to the shared screen just yet. But it says America's retirement age of 65 is crazy, BlackRock CEO says. Now, I already read the article, so we'll see if he thinks it's crazy in the sense that people should retire earlier, or he's suggesting people should retire later than 65, right? And then also we're going to talk about RWA. RWA is an emerging topic in the crypto market right now. RWA stands for real world assets, basically tokenizing real world assets on the blockchain and being able to trade them and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a hot topic, and with this bull market coming up, it's good to be on the hot topics that come up because they could present a trading opportunity. I'm not the biggest trader, but I am looking to. I'm actually in a trade right now. I have my like long-term position, and then I'm leaning towards taking trades within the bull market because we're having sectors that are like heating up, and you can make some good money if you know what plays to get in. After I do the trade, I'll bring it up because I don't want to say what I'm trading and that stuff. So, and I'll tell you how I did on the trade and whatnot. But that's not going to be my long-term portfolio. My long-term portfolio is quality crypto assets, and I'll probably go over that later too after the bull market. But yeah, I'm not gonna divulge that now. So yeah, let's start off with the the retirement article. All right, so the title of the article is America's retirement age of 65 is crazy, BlackRock CEO says. Now, for those of you who don't know my position on retirement, I definitely want to retire earlier than 65. Latest is 40, and earliest is 35. And when I say retire, I mean from like corporate, not working a corporate job, and just being able to do what you want with your time. So for me, retirement is a different definition than most people. For most people, they think beach, not doing anything, not working. For me, that's not the case. For me, my definition of retirement is having the option to do what you want. So if you want to work, you could do that. But if you don't want to work, you could do that as well. And then maybe you have a hybrid of the two where you work a little bit and then you chill for a little bit, right? So yeah, that's my definition of retirement. It's not this time where you just sit, you don't do anything, you don't go to the gym, or that's not the case, right? For me, at least. All right, so let's see what the BlackRock CEO says. And just to point out, he's worth over $1 billion. I think 1.2 is what it said when I looked it up. All right, and that's important, right? To note when seeing his stance. So it says with Americans living. So he says, okay, so Did they cut off? No. So it starts off with. All right. So it says, with Americans living longer and spending more years in retirement, the nation's changing demographics are putting the U.S. retirement system under immense strain, according to BlackRock CEO Larry Fink in his annual shareholder letter. He says one way to fix it, he suggests, is for Americans to work longer before they head into retirement. Now, if you looked at the title of the article, it says 65. I mean, people typically live until their 70s on average, maybe their 80s, right? If you get lucky, and then if you're really lucky, living up into your 90s. But I mean, I'm not sure how far further back he wants to go than 65, because even at that point, I would see even at 50, your body starts to, if you're not keeping up with it. I would say if you're in the gym, you're keeping up with your body, keeping up with your diet. I think 50, you could still be in really good shape, but you still have some age on you. So I can imagine 15 years later, 65, you are not going to be able to move the way you did when you were 50, when you were 40, when you're 30, and so on and so forth. So I'm not sure. I honestly think 65 is too late. But he's saying, people should think about working longer before they head into retirement. And it's funny he says this, because if you look at the first paragraph, it says, with Americans living longer and spending more years in retirement, the nation's changing demographics are putting the U.S. retirement system under immense strain. I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's because people are living longer, it's putting retirement in the U.S. retirement system, in the Social Security system in strain, right? Because that's what he's talking about. He's talking about Social Security and then the pensions and stuff like that. So what's going on with that is the debt that we have in America. There's so much debt that they're pulling from that bucket, and there's not going to be enough money left for people that get into retirement at 65, especially for people that, like me, I'm 30, or people that are in their 20s. They're not going to have, if we keep going the way we're going, they're not going to have a Social Security. So that's why it's important to build different streams of income outside of the Social Security, or think about different streams of income when it comes to retirement outside of Social Security or your pension. Because people, I hear that pensions are also doing stuff. They're reinvesting your money in I wouldn't say risky assets, but definitely assets that carry risk, and they're leveraging your money out too. So I was hearing talks about that, as far as you may not, that pension that you work for up until 65, you might not have that at retirement because the company you put it in lost your money, right? So yeah, I don't think that's the case, but he's saying it from a political, that was more of a political statement. With Americans, he says, with Americans living longer and spending more years in retirement, this is the reason for the strain on the U.S. retirement system. And again, I don't think that's the case. I think the strain is coming from all the debt that we have, the student loan debt, credit card debt, and debt that just, when we print more money, that debt, and when we send money to, different countries, I'm not saying that's wrong or right, but it's just additional debt that we add onto our balance sheet. And I think that's the strain. I don't think it's people living longer, because if you think about it, those people that are living longer are still contributing to the Social Security system. So it's not like they're not contributing. So whatever you put in, you should be getting out when it's time for retirement. So I don't think people should be working. I think people should be working less. So I was shocked when he said that. And the reason why he said his net worth $1 billion, because it's easy to say that, when you're worth $1.2 billion, people should be working longer. I'm pretty sure his job, I'm sure he has to give speeches. He has to, attend meetings and stuff like that. But he's probably chilling at this point, right? If you're worth $1.2 billion, you're probably not killing yourself at work, or you don't need to kill yourself at work, right? Because he's worth 1.2. So he has a different perspective than people that may only have like 200,000 or 300,000 at the end of retirement, right? All right, okay. So, Yeah, I thought that was interesting. So no one should have to work longer than they want to. But I do think it's a bit crazy that our anchor idea for the retirement age, 65 years old, originates from the time of the Ottoman Empire, Fink wrote in his 2024 letter, which is largely focused on the retirement crisis facing the U.S., and other nations as their populations age. Again, he keeps deferring back to the age being the problem. I think that's not the problem. If people are living longer, if they're working, they should still have a contribution, right? At 65. Like if I opt to retire at 65 and not, let's say, well, he's saying later 70, I should have enough. I should have, you only get what you put in or your fair share of the pie. So he says it dates back to the Ottoman Empire, which largely focused on the retirement crisis facing the U.S. and other nations as their populations age. Fink, and he put his net worth. I looked it up, but I didn't know they put it in here. He says Fink, who is worth an estimated $1.2 billion, notes that many 65-year-olds in the early 1950s didn't get a chance to retire because many had already passed away. Right? Okay. Well, yeah, maybe they did pass away, right? Before 65. But I'm pretty sure if they didn't die, they still contributed and they would have had the money. Right now, it's just not having the money is the issue. And it's because of the debt. 1950s didn't get a chance to retire because many had already passed. In other words, he writes more than half of workers who had paid into Social Security never got a penny because they died before they could claim the benefit. And that's interesting, right? So half of workers who paid into Social Security didn't collect the benefits, right? So that's money in the pot that was not used. But if you look at the pot now, and I don't have the numbers, but it's saying that we're going to be running out by the time, for instance, when I get to retirement, 60, so 30 years from now. You would think we would be ahead if that's the case. If people were pouring into it and we didn't have, or they weren't able to use their benefits, there should be more money in the pot. But that's not the case because we keep spending and we keep printing money. He says today these demographics have completely unraveled, and this unraveling is obviously a wonderful thing. Think at it. We should want more people to live more years, but we can't overlook the massive impact on our country's retirement system. All right, it says Fink's suggestions about addressing the nation's retirement crisis come amid a debate about the future of Social Security, which will face a funding shortfall in less than a decade. Oh, so I said 30 years, so less than a decade, so it's even sooner. Some Republican lawmakers have proposed raising the retirement age for claiming Social Security benefits arguing like Fink that because Americans are living longer, they should work longer too. That's crazy, right? So they're spending money from the Social Security bucket, right, on other stuff, depleting that. They're blaming it on us living longer, and then they're also thinking about raising the retirement age to collect Social Security. I don't think that will pass, but we'll see, right? But that's crazy that they're going to raise it from 65. What are they going to raise it to, 75? I'm not sure, right? But that ignores the reality of aging. That ignores the reality of aging in the workplace with the AARP finding in a 2022 survey that the majority of workers over 50 say they face ageism at work, and because of ill health or unexpected job loss, many older Americans stop working before they plan to. In fact, the median age of retirement in the U.S. is 62, even lower than the traditional retirement of 65. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Like, honestly, I think that's just too late. I feel like people only live until like 75, 80. Like I said, you get lucky if you live into your 90s. So I think 35, if you're more ambitious, maybe 31, 32. Because if you think about it, and again, when I say retire, I'm saying with options, right? You have options. You have the option to work, or you don't have the option, or you have the option to just take the day off, right? That's my definition of retirement. So it says and because of ill health. Okay, so we read that. Fink is right in saying that the retirement system isn't working for most households. Retirement noted retirement expert and New School of Research professor Teresa G told CBS Money Watch. But its assessment that people should work longer misses the mark, she added. Many Americans haven't been able to save for their old age with about 3 in 10 workers. Let's read this again. It says many Americans haven't been able to save for their old age, with about 3 out of 10 workers age 59 or older having no money put away for retirement. So I'm not sure if it's because they're not saving on their own, or maybe they didn't work a good enough job to have put enough into Social Security with this statistic, right? But I would second that most people don't have enough money when it comes to retire. In my opinion, the average person over the lifespan, because people get like offended when I say this. Oh, like, how are you going to get this money? Like, or how are you going to get that amount of money? Over the life, so like if we follow the typical retirement age of 65 from, 20, or people should start working early. I would say 17 to 65, you should have at least $1 million in assets. I would say you would need 2 million to retire. I don't think 200,000 to 300,000 is going to be good enough, because if you make a 5 to 6% return, that's going to be, like $20,000, $30,000 a month on the money you saved up, right? And then maybe you get a Social Security check of $600 to $700 a month, depending on what you put into the system. But I think everybody should have at least $1 million. I would say 2 million, but $1 million to have bringing them money each month, right? In hard assets. I'm not talking about $1 million in your house, right, that you live in, because you're not getting anything out of that. I'm talking about $1 million in a dividend giving stock, or maybe $1 million. Maybe you do have $1 million in real estate, but you don't live in it, and you're just getting the rent income from that, right? So, yeah, I agree with that most people, 3 out of 10 workers age 59, have no money put away for retirement. And that's because they're not saving, they're not putting away. They're depending on the 401k, they're depending on the Social Security, and as we can see, this is not going to be here for long. All right, story continues. After a 40-year-old experiment, do it yourself based on period. Okay, let's see what else. Fink has vested into Americans boosting their retirement assets, given that it collects fees. He thinks steering the conversation toward BlackRock, a lot of people who talk about Social Security. All right, so basically he's saying people should work longer. So, and this, I think this would help BlackRock, because they do hold, like, if you look at your 401k, if you look at Social Security funds, this is all invested into these funds, these ETF funds and stuff that these big conglomerate, corporations invest your money into. So Social Security money is invested. All that money's invested in stuff like this. So it benefits his company for you to be working longer, because you're going to be putting more money into those ETFs, right? Just from me looking from the outside in. But yeah, I don't think people should work. I don't think people should work longer. I think people should work smarter and try to retire. I would say by 40. Be able to have the option to work, or have the option to just do whatever you want, because you're making money from assets that you invested in from, 20 to 40. But yeah, I don't think people should be working past 65. That's crazy. That doesn't make any sense. All right, so let's get into the next topic. Real world assets. All right, so this is an emerging hot topic in the crypto space. RWA, and I have a article here about Ondo Finance. This looks like it's a crypto. I haven't read too much into it, but it's a crypto project that offers tokenized versions of real world assets. And I think I looked at the website briefly, and I guess they were tokenizing a treasury bill and then offering the percentage. I think it was short-term treasuries. They are offering the return that you would get for a short-term treasury. I think it was like 3-4%. I'm not sure what it was, but the shorter the treasury bill, the shorter the treasury, the more interest you'll get. The longer, or I'm not sure if it's the longer you hold it up, because the longer you hold it up, I would assume you would get more because you're giving them rights to your assets for longer. But I think it's easier to give out a bigger interest rate for a shorter amount of time, and then if you're going to hold it for longer, the interest rate comes down. But yeah, so it looks like Ondo Finance is moving 95 million to BlackRock's tokenized fund for instant settlements for its T-bill token. Yeah, so the Ondo Finance has the T-bill token, and BlackRock just recently came out saying they were going to have a fund that's going to hold real-world asset crypto protocols or something like that. Let's see. Tokenized real-world asset platform Ondo Finance is moving 95 million of assets to BlackRock's brand new tokenized fund, BUIDL, BUIDL, to allow instant settlement for its own U.S. Treasury-backed token, OUSG. Nathan Allen, CEO of Ondo Finance, said Wednesday in a Telegram interview with CoinDesk. Until now, Ondo's token was backed by BlackRock's iShares short Treasury bond ETF, which traded only during traditional market hours, opposite to crypto's around-the-clock nature. The allocation allows Ondo to significantly speed up subscriptions and redemption time to instant settlement at any day from the T plus 2 days on Ondo's blog post read. Yeah, so, and if we look, Ondo already transferred. So look, so BlackRock is coming out with this fund. It's gonna hold, real world asset tokens and crypto projects, but I'm not sure if they can. There was speculation on Twitter on what assets they were gonna hold in the fund, but it's not like concrete right now. They just made the announcement, and they're gonna come out. I would guess in the near future on what assets they're gonna put in. I'm pretty sure those tokens are gonna skyrocket. Now let's see Ondo's right here. So it looks like Ondo's 90 on the ranking on CoinMarketCap, and it has a $1.2 billion market cap valuation. Okay, so it looks like I just had a run up. So from 40 cents to 87 cents. So when I was talking about, I haven't traded any of the RWA. I have taken a trade in the DEX space, but when you have like sectors like this heating up in a bull market, when you're in a bull market, it's good to pay attention to trends like this, right? Because now I'm aware, okay, RWA is heating up. Now I look into the sector, see what are the best projects, see which ones haven't really spiked yet, and maybe I do take a position later if the opportunity presents itself, right? But those are the kind of things you want to do. You just don't want to just throw your money into anything, but you definitely want to do your research, right? BlackRock, and you see right here how they have protocols. So real world sector portfolios of top VCs, Ondo, Maker, and these cryptos, C-Pool. I have no idea what those are, so I'm not going to say whether they're good or not, but yeah, and it looks like it's on Coinbase. Ondo's on Coinbase, so that's a good thing too. KuCoin just got sued, but Coinbase also got sued by the SEC as well. But KuCoin just got sued. I was reading that as well. But yeah, so RWA is going to be probably one of the sectors. It might be a fad where for a month or two out of the bull market, it just comes and goes. Because the thing about real world assets, you need to peg it, right? The only thing they could really do right now is stocks, treasury bills, and I think that's as far as you can go when it comes to real world assets. If you do things like a painting or something like that, the security of the painting, needs to that's a whole nother thing, and that's gonna have to be physical, right? You could do only so much. I would say what would be good would be real estate, and I'm pretty sure there's some real estate tokens out there, but that would have to. I'm pretty sure there's some legal stuff you have to go through to be trading real estate on the blockchain like that. I think there's a project out there that does it, but I'm not sure. I think all that stuff, even though it's a hot topic now, I think it's further down the line. For me, I think DEXs, payment coins, the meme coins, obviously, but I'm really not a big fan of the meme coins. And, the big smart contract plays, I try to stick to the big plays. And then if I'm going to get into a hot sector, it has to be a sector that makes sense. For me, the DEX space makes sense. So there's a lot of DEXs. We talked about Aero Finance the other day. That one's heating up. I'm not invested in that one. I'm invested in another one. And, stuff like that that actually makes sense to transact digitally, right? When that swapping tokens is always going to be high in demand, especially on, new layer twos like a base, like a Bitcoin network that doesn't have too much going on the layer besides store of value. So those make sense to me, but you would need to know the space in order to make those investment decisions, right? But yeah, so that's pretty much, what I wanted to talk about today. I do not believe you should be retiring after 65. I mean, if you want to work there, I feel like by 65, like I said, I feel like by 40, you should have the option. You should have invested enough to have the option to do what you want. So if you want to work, you could do that. But if you want to take a month off, take 2 months off, you're able to do that as well. But yeah, that's it for today. I'll see you guys in the next one. And yeah, I'll be going live Friday. See you guys.